Hi guys, this is Tom. I'm never going to get sick of messing with this green screen. I thought it was about time to do another video. It's been a little while, and I wanted to talk about the apocalyptic visions of Daniel and Revelation, more specifically how they're similar, and I would go so far as to say not just similar, but how they're the exact same vision. If we can prove that they are all the same vision, they are identified for us specifically in various places. And if you identify one piece, then you identify them all if they're the same. And that can give you a really good perspective and have some pretty interesting conclusions as to what it can indicate. So I don't want to keep these from being too long, so let's go ahead and dive right in. And I'm going to start with Daniel 2, where the king Nebuchadnezzar has his dream and calls Daniel to both tell him the dream and interpret it. And Daniel relays the dream and says the king saw a dazzling statue. Its head was made of gold, its chest and arms were of silver, its belly and thighs were of bronze, its legs were of iron, and its feet were iron mixed with baked clay. The king then saw a stone cut not by human hands. It smashes the statue and grows to fill the whole earth. And after that, Daniel interprets the vision for us. And he tells us, you, O king, are the head of gold. So we know right away, it's identified by Daniel that the head of gold is Babylonian kingdom. And it says, after your kingdom will be another, it will be inferior to yours. And then a third one, and then a fourth one. The fourth one, more detail is given to. It's talked about being iron and how iron is really strong. It crushes and breaks apart everything. And then it says that this kingdom will be divided, and it will have in the feet another kingdom will have its power mixed with it. It'll become partially strong or partially brittle, but there's still iron in the feet, so it's still the same kingdom. And it does say finally a fourth kingdom, one of iron, and then it describes this iron mixed with clay as a feature of this fourth kingdom rather than being a new kingdom on its own. But you'll notice that this is very not detailed. It just basically rattles them off. You're going to be the first kingdom, then be the second one, third one, fourth one. Bam. That's pretty much it. Which you'll notice as these visions go on, each time it gets more and more detailed every time it happens, and as the events get closer and closer. Okay, then we go on to the second vision. The second vision is seen by Daniel himself during the reign of Babylon. But this time, instead of 4 metals in a statue, it's 4 animals that are said to come up out of the sea. And out of the sea will be important later. It says the first was like a lion, and it had wings like an eagle. It is torn off, so it stood like a human, and a human mind is given to it. The second beast was a bear, raised up on one side. It had 3 ribs in its mouth, and is told, eat is filled with flesh. The third beast is a leopard with 4 heads, and has 4 wings, and is given authority to rule. Fourth beast isn't identified as what kind of animal it is, but it said it's being terrifying and frightening, that it has 10 horns. It also has teeth made of iron, and crushes everything. It mentions it's being different from the others. It says it has 10 horns, and among those horns a little horn sprouts up and tears up 3 of the previous horns. The horn has eyes like a human being, and it speaks boastfully. After this, you get a lot of detail about the Ancient of Days taking his seat among a host of people. The beast is slain and thrown into the lake of fire, or thrown into a river of fire. And then it says, the Son of Man comes with the clouds up to the Ancient of Days and is given authority over all the nations. His kingdom is described as lasting forever and never being destroyed. So you get a lot more detail in this one, and some of the things you can tell right away is that the fourth beast, whereas in the statue it was iron, it says it's a beast that has teeth made of iron. But we get more details. Now we have this 10 horns and a little horn that sprouts up and tears up some of the other horns. But we have the first one being a lion, and how the lion has his wings torn off and is given the mind of a man. And if you'll recall, if the fourth beast is indeed the same, and that one is the Iron Kingdom, the first one should be Nebuchadnezzar, the king of gold, and it actually fits very well with the other stories we have in Daniel about King Nebuchadnezzar becoming boastful and saying that I did this on my own, and at that point God strips him of his authority in his kingdom and sends him off to wander the wilderness like an animal. And it's funny that that's just like the wings being torn off of the lion, and then it says a human mind is given to it. And at some point when Nebuchadnezzar repents it says, my mind was returned to me, and I got my kingdom back. And so it very much echoes that. So I think that shows very easily that these are the same. But then we have the angel interpret this vision. So let me get some more clues. The angel interprets it very fast. In 2 verses, he interprets an entire vision. He says in verse 17, the 4 great beasts are 4 kings that will rise out of the earth. But the holy people of the Most High will receive the kingdom and possess it forever, yes, forever and ever. One of the things I want to notice is, first off, he just says the 4 beasts are 4 kings that will rise from the earth. He doesn't give very much detail, because I think that's not the purpose of the vision. The purpose of the vision is what happens after, with the kingdom coming and the stone taking up the whole earth, or the Ancient of Days taking his seat. It's interesting, in the vision itself, it says the Son of Man comes with the clouds and is given authority over all the nations. His kingdom lasts forever and ever. But when the angel here interprets it, he says, the holy people of the Most High will receive the kingdom and will possess it forever, yes, forever and ever. So we have the vision of the Son of Man receiving the kingdom being interpreted by an angel as being people receiving the kingdom, and the sons of God, the holy people. And I think that's neat, as it is God's kingdom, but it's people that bring that kingdom about. And I think that's just a cool thing. But that's the whole point. It seems like it's just about the kingdom coming. The angel's seemingly done with his interpretation. He would have probably taken off right then and there. But Daniel was very revered, and so Daniel asked a question, and he's more concerned with this 4th beast. And this beast was terrifying, and he wanted to know about its 10 horns. And the angel entertains him and explains the 4th beast in more detail. It says, the 4th beast is a kingdom that will be different from all other kingdoms and will devour the whole earth. The 10 horns are 10 kings that come from the kingdom. After them, another king will arise, different from the earlier ones, and he will persecute the holy people. But his power will be taken away. Then the sovereignty, power, and greatness of all the kingdoms will be handed again to the holy people of God. It will be an everlasting kingdom. So that's pretty neat. But we know now that the 10 horns that this beast have were 10 kings. And the little horn that comes up later is another king that will be different from the others. And while the angel didn't explain this part in his explanation, the vision says that king uprooted 3 of the other ones, which is important as well. So we get this vision much more detail, and after that, there's one more chapter later, going on to the 3rd vision in chapter 8. Now, something different about the vision in chapter 8. Up until this point, Daniel 1 through 7 is written in Aramaic, which is the language of the Babylonian Empire. He was in captivity when he wrote it, and that makes total sense. But starting in chapter 8 to the end, it's written in Hebrew, and that's a very interesting turn of events. Some people think that he's changing audiences here somehow, talking just to the Hebrew people, whereas before he was talking to everybody. And that's a pretty good idea, I guess, but we don't know. One thing we do know is that time must have passed between here and there. We're all of a sudden now to change languages like this. Also, another thing about this vision that's different is it says it happened only 2 years after the first one, and it happened in the 3rd year of King Belshazzar's reign, which was the son of Nebuchadnezzar. So he had this vision while he's still in Babylon, but it's possible that the change in language is a result of him being actually somewhere else and writing it down from memory previously. And one of the reasons for that is it says that he's in the citadel, he sees himself in the citadel of Susa. It says, I saw myself in the citadel of Susa in the province of Elam. And the citadel of Susa is in Persia. That's part of the Persian Empire. So at the time of this vision takes place, in the vision, it's already the next kingdom down, the king of silver. So anyways, Daniel is in Persia, in the citadel of Susa, and he sees a ram with 2 horns standing beside a canal. The horns are long, but one is longer than the other, and that horn came up later. It charges to the west, the north, and the south. No animals could stand against it, and it becomes very great. After this, Daniel sees a goat with a prominent horn between his eyes come from the west, crossing the whole earth without touching the ground. It charges the ram by the canal in great rage, attacks it furiously, and shatters its 2 horns, knocks it to the ground, tramples it. The goat becomes very great, but at the height of its power, its horn is broken off, and 4 replace it, growing to the 4 winds of the heaven. Out of one of the horns, a small one comes out. This horn grows to the south, the east, and grows until it reaches the host of heavens. It tries to be as great as the commander of the army of the Lord and takes away the daily sacrifice. It prospers everything it did, and truth is thrown to the ground. So again, this vision's more detailed, but you can automatically see some similarities here. But what automatically, right away, you'll notice that the vision only has 2 animals in it, and the other one had 4 metals and 4 animals. So what's up with that? But first, we know that since this takes place in Persia, the head of Babylon, the head of gold, and the lion have already in the past. So there would have been no need to talk about that animal or kingdom because it's taking over from now present time in Persia. So that's one of the animals. You also notice that the strange animal isn't really talked about, but in reality you have the goat combined into both animals, and you can see you'll see that here in the interpretation. But you'll notice that it has the small horn again that comes up, and it grows with the army of the Lord, takes away the daily sacrifice, reaches the host of the heavens, and so then the angel then comes to explain things to us. And it says, the angel says the 2-horned ram is the kings of Media and Persia, which that was the Second Empire, Media and Persia. So you have this identified by name by the angel, which is important. So now we can identify the chest and arms of silver as the kings of Media and Persia, and the bear raised up on one side, is representing Media and Persia raised up. I mean, one of the Persia was more powerful than Media, but it was still both kingdoms were there. The angel says that the shaggy goat is Greece, that is the one that slays the other one, slays the ram. He then says the 4 horns, the large horn. He says the large horn represents the first king that the goat has. He then says that the 4 horns that replace the one that's broken off represent 4 kingdoms that emerge from this nation. So that's important. So you now have 4 kingdoms. So at the point that the horn is breaking off, this animal is now the 4th beast. And you have the same horn that grows up and vaults itself. And while it doesn't say that it uproots the other ones, I'm sure that must be the case. He describes the 4 horns are to replace the ones broken off, or 4 kingdoms emerge from the nation. The angels go on to discuss another king that arises, described as the angel as fierce looking. This king will become very strong and succeed at whatever he does. He will fight against the holy people and speak against the Most High. He will cause the seat to prosper and consider himself superior. He then says he'll be destroyed, but not by human power. So he speaks boastfully, and he speaks against the Lord, against the Most High, and so again, that shows that that's the same one as the other small horn that rises up and speaks against the Most High. So it makes it easy to tell it's the same vision. What's interesting is that after we get this vision and the explanation, nothing is talked about with the kingdom. But it does say in the beginning of the vision that I had this other vision after the manner of the one I had previously. So we know that this vision is not just after it in chronology, it's saying it's after the same things. It's talking about the same information. So while the kingdom isn't talked about here, it goes into much more detail about the kings and about the beasts, and indeed identifies the beasts for us. But then the subject matter really changes really fast after chapter 8, which is just strange. But like I said, there's a lot of strange things with the breakup of the way Daniel works. After that, we're going to go to Revelation. The next vision is beheld by John while he's in Patmos. One thing's known is that John writes from the Roman kingdom. The Roman kingdom sprung up after Greece. And they became more powerful in any other way. And we know that Jesus was crucified by the Romans, and Paul was going to testify before Caesar, and ends up actually killing him. It's not in the Bible, but so we know that Rome was in power at the writing of Revelation. Revelation is immensely detailed compared to the other ones, which of course it would be if this is actually the 4th kingdom, and can be shown that then there's only one kingdom left, and there's of course a lot in here about the kingdom. That's where most of the stuff we have about the kingdom comes from Revelation. A lot more details here that aren't anywhere else. But again, if we can determine that the beasts mentioned here are the same beasts as the other one, then we'll know it's all the same thing. So I'm going to start with Revelation 13. Revelation 13 talks about a beast coming up out of the sea, and as you'll notice before in Daniel's vision, the beasts come out of the sea, and it says it has 7 heads and 10 horns and blasphemous names on the horn. And it spoke against God in Daniel's dream. So it's very similar to the same way. The 10 horns is also the same 10 horns of the other one. As if we weren't sure enough, it says, the beast resembled a leopard, but had feet like a bear and the mouth of a lion. I mean, those are the exact same animals that were mentioned in Daniel's dream. You got the lion, the leopard, and the bear. So we know for certain now that this is the same beast as in Daniel, only it's different in that it has assimilated all the other beasts. I'm pretty certain that the reason why this vision was seen this way is so we would know for certain this is talking about the same beast. But it is interesting, however, that Rome was a nation of nations. They were lots of nations when part of it had its powers divided up all over the place, and you fought as part of your nation, but under the banner of Rome, and that's how Rome ruled, which I find interesting and fits very well. But anyways, the lion, bear, leopard, that's definitely the beast from Daniel. 10 horns, speaks blasphemies against the Most High. There's no doubt, comes out of the sea. This is the same beast of Revelation, or Daniel. Right after describing this beast, though, it describes a beast that comes out of the earth. And this exercises all the authority of the first beast. It speaks like a lamb. And this is mirrored by, it says it gives power to the first beast. But it's mirrored by the clay. You know, in the statue it talks about iron mixed with clay. And this is a beast out of the water, a beast out of the earth. And it gives power to the first beast. So this is part of the scene here. But it's giving power to the first beast. But it is also there. Revelation is just one vision, but it uses the same imagery over and over again. And later on in Revelation 17, we have these same two beasts. Only they have a much, much different revelation, or a relationship now. In this chapter, instead of seeing two beasts side by side, one out of the earth, one out of the water, one giving power to the other, we have a woman riding a beast. So one of the beasts is now on top of the other one, riding it, controlling it, as it were. And if we can indeed see that this is the same beast, we'll know that this is the same analogy. And the way we know, it says the beast she's riding has 7 heads and 10 horns and blasphemous names written on them. So this is word for word exactly the beast that came up out of the water. And since we know by the animals involved, the pieces of the animals in it, we know this is the vision from Daniel. So it's all the same thing. But interesting thing now, this woman is riding the beast, controlling the beast. And one who's obviously riding is the one who has the power and makes it do what they want. It says she has a gold cup in her hand filled with abominable things, and on her head is written, Babylon, the mother of prostitutes and of abominations of the earth. Okay, just as the same way as the other visions, an angel comes and interprets the vision for us. So, and he says, 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. They are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain only for a little while. This is a huge verse and tells us a lot for a number of reasons. First, we know that as of the writing of this vision, according to the angel, the 7 heads of this beast, 5 have already fallen, and the 6th head is in power, and there's only 1 more head left to go. So that's a very good indicator that John wrote Revelation during the reign of the 6th head of this beast. So even as of Revelation's writing, most of the beast was dead, which I think is very exciting to learn about. So 5 of the heads have already been dead. There's only 2 heads left to go before this beast is gone. 1 was reigning. This is also the first time we get an identity of the beast. Since we know the 6th head is reigning, the king that was reigning during the time John wrote was Nero Caesar of Rome. So the 5 heads that have fallen before that were the first 5 Caesars, starting with Julius Caesar. And so it all fits very, very nice. One of the interesting things is angel says that the beast, it identifies the waters. It came up out of the waters, and the waters where the prostitute sits are peoples, multitudes, nations, and languages. So we know that these beasts rise up out of the water. They're rising up out of the people. The angel says that the beast being ridden will hate the prostitute, leaving her naked, and will burn her with fire. The question now is to talk about the identity of the prostitute. and whose power was mingled with Rome, who was riding the beast, causing him to worship the beast, and riding it, guiding it to what it was going to do, and that the beast would hate it. And I think it becomes pretty obvious after this what the identity of the prostitute is. And after 17, we have the next couple chapters talk about the falling of Babylon, of this prostitute, her fall. And in chapter 18, towards the end, we get a clue as to who this Babylon prostitute woman riding the beast is. It says, "In her was found the blood of prophets and of God's holy people, of all who have been slaughtered on earth." You don't have much room for doubt. The ones that killed the prophets was Israel. And it's obvious that this verse here is a near direct quote of something Jesus said. So, and Jesus was arguing with the Pharisees in Matthew 23. He calls them, "You snakes, you brood of vipers." And then he says, "Therefore I'm sending you prophets and sages and teachers. Some you will kill and crucify." And this is in Matthew 23, 33 and 34, by the way. "Therefore I'm sending you prophets and sages and teachers. Some of them they will kill and crucify. Others you will flog in your synagogues and pursue from town to town. And so upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zachariah son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I tell you, all this will come on this generation." So again, in chapter 18 of Revelation, it says, "In her was found the blood of prophets, of God's holy people, of all who have been slaughtered on the earth." And Jesus said, "Upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth." It says they killed the prophets and sages and teachers and holy people. So we get a positive identity here that the ones that killed the prophets and were filled with the blood of all the righteous blood on earth is the one whose identity the prostitute, and that would be Israel, Old Covenant Israel. And that may come as a shock to some, but it also shows. It says that the beast, she was riding the beast, and the beast hated her and wanted to leave her naked and burn her with fire. And that's very much what happened. In 70 A.D., Prince Titus comes and destroys Jerusalem, burns it with fire, burns the temple to the ground, hauls off all the stuff there, and hauls the people over into slavery. And this is very interesting. It also shows, if you think about how the woman was riding the beast, and her power was mingled with Rome's. If you think about it, Rome did not want to crucify Jesus. Who made Rome crucify Jesus? It was the Jews. The Jews said, "We have no king but Caesar. You know, if you don't do this, you are no friend to Caesar if you don't kill him, because everyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar." And because of this, Pilate gets scared and he ends up crucifying Jesus. But it was not his will. He wanted to set him free. He said multiple times he wanted to set him free. But the Jews, just like the woman riding the beast, convinced Rome to do it anyways. So their power was mingled in there. And the fact that they hated them it perfectly describes their relationship. So anyways, as we see all together, if you identify one part of this, you identify the whole thing. And some of the implications of that could be pretty big. One more thing I wanted to mention is the timing on when this is said to happen. If you look in Daniel, after he's given the vision in chapter 8, he says, seal up the vision of this, fill up the words of this vision, for it concerns a distant future. So he's told not to bother it, and then later on in the book he's told the same thing. Don't go your way, Daniel. It's not for your time. It's for the time of the end and distant time. But later on in John, I'll put these verses up so you can see them, but later on in John, you have a different thing happen. At the end of John, it says, "Do not seal up the words of the vision of this scroll, because the time is near." So in Daniel's day, the time was distant and he was to seal it up. But in John's day, the time was near and he was told, "Do not seal it up." And so as we know, these animals and visions, we're talking about the same animals and beasts and kingdoms. This is talking about the same thing. And interestingly enough, the time between Daniel to John is something like 500 years. And it went from being distant in Daniel's day to being near in John's day. So I would lead to question you, if that's the case, is it really logical that now 2,000 years after Revelation has been written, is it still logical that it's still almost near? In reality, if it was talking about John's time, it makes total sense and that totally fits. In fact, most of Revelation, a very overarching theme is its imminency. It talks about things that must soon take place. They're shortly, quickly, at hand. The judge is near, right at the door. I stand at the door and knock. I mean, this is said over and over again, to be near, quickly, and soon. And if we take that literally, then it was talking about the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. I'll let you guys decide about what the implications of that all are. But if you at least see that these beasts are all the same, it will force you to think about them in a slightly different way. So I hope that's been enlightening. Until next time.